Okay, let's get started with part one, where we review general academic passage anatomy. Please remember that on IELTS reading exam, you have only 20 minutes to actually read the text and answer 12 to 13 questions after the text. So that's a fairly short period of time given the complexity of questions, and therefore you have to know how to work with the passage effectively. So for that purpose, it's important to know where things are located and actually feel comfortable applying this strategy. So each passage, academic English passage, consists of it follows a typical structure. So it includes the introduction, and I'm sure that all of you know that. Introductory paragraph is in fact very, very important, and it's very important to learn how to read it effectively to be able to predict what the rest of the passage will be about. So the function of the introduction actually is to introduce the topic, the overall topic, to focus the topic. For example, if we're talking about globalization, what is that about globalization we will focus on? The effects, advantages or disadvantages, and so on. Then introductory paragraph also explains and defines the purpose of the passage. Why am I writing this passage? Am I trying to present a point of view? Am I persuading? Am I explaining certain points? And so on. So because the purpose will then define the organization of ideas. So based on the introductory paragraph and the focus of the topic and the purpose, we know we could predict the organization of the main body. So here comes the second type of paragraph within the passage, which is the main body paragraphs. The number of main body paragraphs varies, so usually on IELTS texts you will have 3 to 4 because the length of texts equals to 700 to 800 words. And again, main body paragraphs have typical structure, and usually they develop the topic in greater details, and each of the paragraph is always tailored to the introductory paragraph. So they have a very strong logical link between each other. And finally, we have the concluding paragraph, which doesn't really state anything new. It may bring some new ideas, but they are minor. Usually the role of the concluding paragraph is to restate the main idea that has been introduced in the introductory paragraph and maybe reiterate certain key points. So let's get a closer look at two types of paragraphs that I have just mentioned, the introduction and the main body paragraph, because understanding their structure will help you work much more effectively with the text. So we're going to start with the introduction and how to actually find all the things, the purpose, the focus, and then we will move to the main body paragraph. So you can see them on the screen. So in the introduction, usually we start the paragraph with stating the general topic. What are we here to talk about? Then, as you read the introduction, it's going to focus the topic, and therefore, as you read closely, you have to see how is the author focusing the topic, and finally, find the thesis statement. So thesis statement usually is located towards the end of the introduction, but it's not always the case, of course. So you have to be prepared for variations. So thesis statement is the key because it states the main topic and the purpose of the passage. So when I know the thesis statement, I can predict very well what the main body will include and how it will be organized. It suggests also the paragraph's organization, as I have already said. On the IELTS exam, some of the passages that are chosen, they may not include the introduction. So they may start with the main body paragraph, for example, and therefore you have to be very careful, and that's why reading that first paragraph of the text is important to better understand what the text will be about. So, unlike the introduction, main body paragraph it has a different structure. So usually main body paragraph starts with the topic sentence. Topic sentence says what this paragraph will be about. And topic sentence directly relates to the thesis statement, so it develops the thesis statement. There is a very strong link that defines the topic of the paragraph, and it suggests the logical organization of that paragraph. So everything else after the topic sentence are sentences that develop and provide additional, more detailed information, examples, confirmation, so everything that basically provides evidence to the topic. So in the main body paragraph, topic sentence is usually located at the very beginning. So it may not be the first sentence necessarily, but it could be in the first couple or 3 sentences. And it's very important that you find it and you analyze it so that you know what the rest of the paragraph will be about. So these are the 2 paragraphs. We're not gonna focus on conclusion that much. The conclusion, again, you would read thoroughly everything, because the main idea could be close to the end or at the beginning. It varies, but overall it will summarize what the introduction says. So knowing all of this will help you quickly read the passage and quickly locate information.